the Stanley Cup.
I believe that a commissioner has a responsibility to run the game as well as he can for the benefit of everyone, the owners, the players, and the fans. The owners are my employer, but the way a league performs well is by making its product as attractive as it can to the greatest number of fans.
On June 9, 1993, the Montreal Canadiens defeated the Los Angeles Kings to win the Stanley Cup, the last time a Canadian team won the Cup. 4 months earlier, Gary Bettman became the NHL's first commissioner. A lawyer from the NBA, he arrived with a clear mandate: modernize, expand in the US, and make NHL hockey into a big business. 33 seasons later, and not a single Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. During that span, Canadian teams have made the finals 8 times and lost every one. Heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. It's a drought that's become part of the league's lore, and the subject of endless jokes. But more interestingly, it's given rise to one of the most persistent conspiracy theories in the sport: that Gary Bettman has successfully done everything in his power to stop Canadian teams from winning the Stanley Cup. The accusations range from rigging games to biasing expansion team opportunities to pulling strings with officials, all in order to keep the cup south of the border. A grand plot by a commissioner who's been booed in every Canadian arena for decades. I was always skeptical of these theories. I figured the drought could be explained away by bad luck, statistics, and the brutal reality of modern NHL hockey. But maybe I was missing something, so I decided to investigate. Here's what I found out.
No sport so symbolizes one country as hockey symbolizes Canada.
Gary Bettman wasn't a hockey lifer. He came from the NBA, where he helped David Stern turn basketball into a global juggernaut. Hired by NHL owners in 1993, his mission was clear: fix the league's finances, expand into new markets, and secure big TV deals. And he delivered. Under his leadership, the league has grown from 24 teams in 1993 to 32 today, with expansion franchises popping up in Florida, Anaheim, Nashville, Columbus, Minnesota, Vegas, and Seattle, plus a failed experiment in Atlanta, with the Thrashers moving to Winnipeg in 2011. Early in his tenure, 2 Canadian franchises relocated to the States: the Quebec Nordiques to Colorado in 1995, and the original Winnipeg Jets to Phoenix in 1996. Both moves were driven by well-documented financial pressures: small Canadian markets, unfavorable exchange rates, and arena issues, reducing the number of Canadian teams from 8 down to 6. Bettman also navigated 3 lockouts: the 1994-95 shortened season, the 2004-2005 lost season, and the 2012-2013 shortened season. The lockouts were brutal, but they reshaped the league, like the salary cap in 2005, intended to create parity. No more dynasties like the 80s Oilers or Islanders. In theory, every team was supposed to have a shot, but that's not exactly how it's played out, with Sunbelt teams winning 11 of the last 32 Stanley Cups. But fast forward a little over a decade from the most recent lockout, and revenue has exploded. Thanks to national TV contracts and gambling partnerships, the NHL is now a multi-billion-dollar league. But conspiracy theorists and many skeptical observers have become convinced that this success has come at the expense of Canadian franchises. The narrative is clear. Bettman's obsession with succeeding in non-traditional US markets has meant propping up teams in the Sunbelt while turning a blind eye to Canadian franchises, dealing with currency woes, high taxes, and battles for new arenas.
Captain Mark Messier, come get the Stanley Cup. Come on up. I'm proud to present this to you. Scott Niedermayer, come on back up. It's your turn to hoist the cup. Zdeno Chara, it's my honor to present you with the Stanley Cup. Captain Steven Stamkos, it is my honor to present you with the Stanley Cup. Alexander Barkov, you have the honor of hoisting the Stanley Cup.
Since Montreal's win in 1993, Canadian-based teams have reached the Stanley Cup Final 8 times. Vancouver in 1994 against the New York Rangers, Calgary in 2004 against Tampa Bay, Edmonton in 2006 against Carolina, Ottawa in 2007 against Anaheim, Vancouver again in 2011 against Boston, Montreal in 2021 against Tampa Bay, Edmonton in 2024 against Florida, and most recently, Edmonton in 2025 again against the Panthers. Against all odds, the Canadian team has lost every time, and a lot of them came with controversy. The first big controversy came in Game 6 of the 2004 Finals. With 7 minutes left in regulation and the game tied at 2, Flames forward Oleg Saprykin came flying down the wing with the puck. His teammate Marty Jelena was driving toward the net. Saprykin threw the puck towards the net, where it redirected off Jelena's skate. Lightning goalie Nikolai Habibulin flashed his right pad to keep it from crossing the goal line. The Lightning grabbed the rebound, sent the puck down the ice, and the play carried on. But as it turned out, the puck was far closer to crossing the line than anyone on the ice realized. During the next stoppage in play, the ABC broadcast cut to an angle that appeared to show the puck crossing the goal line before it hit Habibulin's pad.
And then Habibulin kicked it, I think kicked it out. Off the right skate. And, oh my gracious, it went off the line. It absolutely is in.
The NHL replay room never took time to properly review the play, and while the TV crew was still trying to make sense of the replay, the linesman dropped the puck, and the game carried on. Neither team would score until 33 seconds into the second overtime period, when Marty St. Louis snuck a rebound past Mika Kiprusoff, sending the series back to Tampa for Game 7, which the Lightning would go on to win. Adding a bit of fuel to the conspiracy theory fire, earlier in the series, after Ville Nieminen was suspended for Game 5, Flames head coach Daryl Sutter accused the NHL of having a pro-Lightning bias, quipping, "So fine, we know what we're up against. We're the underdog. We've said that. I'm not saying it now to make a point, but it's dead on true. We're the little team that wasn't supposed to be here, and a lot of people don't want us to be here, and to make sure that we're not successful. We know that." When asked who he was talking about, Sutter responded with, "None of your business." But I'm pretty sure he was talking about Bettman.
Here's Kevin Bieksa. Here's wrist shot wide. LaPierre scores! Finally, they beat Tim Thomas. It's Maxim LaPierre.
The 2011 Stanley Cup Final between the Canucks and Bruins is still widely viewed by Canucks fans as heavily biased, with the Cole and Campbell conflict of interest at the center of the conspiracy narrative. Campbell, then the NHL's senior vice president of hockey operations and head of player discipline, is the father of Bruins forward Gregory Campbell. Although he was technically recused for the finals, the optics weren't good, and fueled a widespread belief that discipline and officiating tilted toward Boston. This controversy came to a head with Aaron Rome's late high hit on Nathan Horton in Game 3, which concussed Horton and sidelined him for the rest of the series. Rome received a major and game misconduct, followed by a 4-game suspension, the longest in finals history, crippling Vancouver's defense at a critical juncture. Penalty calls also shifted noticeably over the course of the series. The Bruins played a bruising style, and the Canucks had more power plays early on in the series. But as the series progressed, Boston was allowed to get away with a lot more, helping them regain momentum after trailing 3-2. For a lot of Canucks fans, it was obvious that Campbell used his power to influence the officiating, explaining Rome's harsh suspension and the late series let-them-play mentality, all under the direction of Gary Bettman. The Lightning's use of long-term injured reserve rules in the 2020-21 season sparked significant controversy, particularly among Habs fans, but also the broader hockey community. After winning the 2020 Cup in the bubble, star forward Nikita Kucherov underwent hip surgery in December 2020, and was placed on LTIR for the entire 56-game regular season. This removed his $9.5 million cap hit, allowing Tampa to stay cap compliant while assembling a stacked roster. Kucherov returned for the playoffs, where the salary cap didn't apply. Estimates suggested the Lightning effectively operated $18 million over the cap when Kucherov returned fully healthy for the playoffs, where he led all scorers with 32 points. The other finals all had their own smaller but valid grievances. Let me know what I missed in the comments. Conspiracists have constructed theories that thrive on Reddit, X, and other platforms. In my research, I didn't find a smoking gun, but I did come across some interesting ideas. Here are my favorites. Number 1. The suspicious timing. This one is pretty straightforward. The drought began in Bettman's first full season. 10 or even 20 years without a Canadian champion could be explained away by bad luck, but 33 years, that suggests something nefarious. Bettman has repeatedly dismissed favoritism claims, saying outcomes are determined on the ice, but some fans aren't so sure. Number 2. Expansion and relocation priorities. Right from the start, Bettman was hyper-focused on heavily expanding into the US Sunbelt and non-traditional markets. Early in his tenure, he had no problem relocating 2 Canadian franchises, the Nordiques in 1995 and the Jets in 1996, reducing the chances of a Canadian team winning the Cup. Fans have called it deliberate dilution, a concentrated attempt to prioritize American revenue over Canadian revenue. Number 3. Labor disputes and economic impact. Others have argued that, despite the promise of parity, the 3 lockouts under Bettman have disproportionately hurt Canadian teams due to currency issues, higher taxes, and revenue-sharing rules. The 04-05 lockout has been cited as killing momentum right after Calgary's loss in Game 7 of the finals. But Edmonton went to the finals the next season, so I'm not sure I buy that argument. On the other hand, I do understand the grievances of Canadian fans who have called for modifying the salary cap to account for the advantages of teams in no-tax states like Nevada and Florida, with teams from those states winning 5 of the last 7 cups. Number 4. Officiating and pivotal moments. Probably the most common gripe relates to biased officiating. I already highlighted a few blatant examples, but every Canadian hockey fan has a memory bank full of examples where the league screwed over their team. Let me know your best examples in the comments. An earlier example that immediately comes to mind for me is Gretzky's high stick on Gilmour that went uncalled in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. Instead of sitting in the box for 5 minutes, Gretzky stayed on the ice and scored the game-winning goal. Gretzky went on to score a hat trick in Game 7, eliminating the Leafs and leading the Kings to the Stanley Cup Finals. Another tough break for a Canadian team. Number 5. Revenue and market focus. For many, Bettman's NBA background and public emphasis on US growth, including bigger TV deals and big-time corporate sponsorships, signaled a preference for bringing the Stanley Cup to larger and emerging American markets. The idea being that Canadian markets are niche and less valuable for league-wide appeal. I'm not sure I totally agree, because I think any finals with the Leafs in it would do huge numbers both north and south of the border. But let's get back to reality. While the conspiracy theories remain popular, the majority of analysts and insiders point to more practical explanations. Smaller Canadian markets face steeper hurdles in free agency and player retention. Higher taxes, currency disadvantages, and lifestyle factors make it harder to keep or attract top talent. Drafting, development, and management decisions matter enormously in the salary cap era. Canadian teams haven't consistently built the depth or balance needed for repeated deep runs. Edmonton's heavy reliance on McDavid and Draisaitl in 2025 is a good recent example. League-wide parity, driven by the cap and revenue sharing, makes sustained success difficult for everyone. American teams have simply executed better in recent championship windows. The Canadian Cup drought is undeniable, and it's starting to get ridiculous. As much as the rational part of my brain says it can be explained by competition, roster construction, and on-ice variance, things still don't sit quite right with me. Yes, under Gary Bettman, the NHL has grown dramatically. There's higher overall revenues, a stronger global presence, and more stability, but it's come at the cost of teams like the Nordiques and the OG Dale Hawerchuk, Teemu Selanne, and Keith Tkachuk Jets. It's kind of cool to watch the game grow in the South, but it seems to have come at the expense of Canadian teams.
You know, my first year as commissioner, the Montreal Canadiens won the cup, and you know, they're not true, but there are conspiracy theorists who think that we have something to do with that, and we don't.
The Gary Bettman conspiracy endures because it offers a simple explanation for the long drought. Whether the reasons are structural, economic, ownership, management, or just the unpredictable nature of hockey, one man has been at the helm the whole time. It doesn't really matter if Gary Bettman is an evil genius, pulling the strings behind the scenes. The Bettman conspiracy theories will continue for as long as the drought, because it offers a simple explanation, and it's also just fun. Speaking of fun, the funny thing is that as a Flames fan myself, I don't even want a Canadian team to win the cup, unless it's us, which doesn't look likely anytime soon. So I'm actually quite happy for the drought to continue, at least until the Flames finish their rebiggle. Thanks for watching. Do you buy into any of the conspiracy theories? What will it take for a Canadian team to finally break the drought? And which team do you think will do it? Drop a comment down below, and please like and subscribe for more videos like this one. And if you want access to exclusive members-only content, become a channel member today for just 99 cents a month by clicking the join button beside the subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel.